Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Watcher of Realms video, and today we're going to be talking Gear Raid 1. One of the most important areas to start farming up your gear. And honestly, like, I'm level now 38, been playing the game for, I don't know, like a couple of weeks, so just over a couple of weeks. And now is the point where I'm like pushing gear raids. So something that's really important to just call out in the first place. Gear raids are obviously how you start to upscale your accounts. More gear, better gear is where you're going to do that. But gold is quite a luxury in this game. You don't want to just be hard farming crap gear early on. And in fact, they've got a great resource in this game in the Dwarven Association, the market, where you can actually pick up nice pieces of gear, potentially, as you go. So definitely use the Dwarven market to build your early game gear. And honestly, to buy a whole bunch of stuff. Like this market is decent. Worth doing all of the refreshes, probably refresh for the 500 cost gold as well, because you could just pick up the epic and the legendary pieces as you get there. Now, the way this works is the further you get through campaign, the further you level. Maybe it's by your level, or maybe it's by your distance in campaign. I actually don't know for sure, but this marketplace improves, so it kind of reflects where you are in the game. And up until this point, I've not really spent any energy farming gear. I've just been using what I've had. Okay, so if you look at my heroes, I've got like the odd mythical piece of gear, but that's really just something that is either dropped through a event that I've done, or a battle pass or something, but I really don't have a lot of it, so I'm just utilizing what I've already got. Now for Gear Raid 1, I guess let's go into the detail of it before we show you some runs and before you show you a push of mine. Gear Raid 1. Well, let's talk about the gear raids anyway. Most of these, you can see where it starts to flip into different quality of gear. So at stage 10, you start to see legendary pieces. This is still not where you blow a load of your stamina to get gear. Stage 13 is the first place we start to have the option of mythical gear. And this is the first kind of like real challenge of your account. It's like, is your account kind of leveled to the right place to do it? Yes or no? And if it is, then this is where you can start to actually farm gear. And obviously, after that, you then get an improved chance to get the mythical pieces as you level. And I think by stage 18, 18 is where you only get mythical gear. So this is like prime time farming space here. And obviously, beyond that, you get better stuff as well. So 13 is like the big challenge. This is the big place where you really want to come. Cool thing with this game, it does give you some info before you start, so you know what you're up against. So it kind of says here, recommended for this fight, AoE mages. Gives you a whole bunch of the ones that are available. Gives you some lineups that have cleared it and the sort of times they're clearing them with. But this is the kind of important section, I think. The map info here, where it kind of like walks you through what you're up against. And you can see, they've told you magic champions do well, but magic resist, basically, of all of the units is, I'd say, mid to low, whereas the defense of all of the units pretty much is high. So if you bring in marksmen to this fight, then they're going to struggle to get through any of these really high defense enemies. The only reason that a marksman could help you, I guess, is the actual boss. I've got a set ram. If set ram was to ult on this boss, he would do a lot of work. Trouble is, the boss is always just going to be crowded by other enemies, so the chance of you making that definitely happen is probably quite slim. And you can see here, there's a couple of call-outs. Let me just see which one. I think it's these ones here. They spawn these explode. Yeah, here you go. So they lay eggs, and they can hatch these things that basically just pop explosive damage on you. So you just have to make sure that when you're setting out your team, you keep as many to the sidelines as you can. So I'm going to show you a fight here. I've completed it, and it was hard. Like, I was really, really close to the line. I guess before I do it, maybe I'll just show you some of the gear and the champions that I'm using, because it does make quite a difference. So I was lucky to get Kamet, or however you want to pronounce it, I don't know. But I was lucky to get this hero as a legendary, and it really is a legendary hero for this raid. Yeah, so basically, in the skills, we've just got high levels of AoE magic damage. The ult is just like bouncing AoE damage from one to the next. Unfortunately, I've put loads of books or, you know, skill ups into this hero, and my ultimate has not really had the benefit of that, but still I'm doing a lot of work with this hero, and you'll see my damage numbers. This hero is quite high. I also got Ajax, who is another good AoE mage, doing a lot of damage to a lot of enemies and inflicting burns. I was convinced by stream actually to put some work into Cerberus, who I picked up, and again, very weird kit compared to anything else I've seen, but it's kind of like just drops down. He's a fighter, but he does magic damage pretty much through dying. Yeah, so every time he dies, he leaves this kind of like pool of AoE magic damage, and he becomes cheaper to play. So it's quite an interesting hero actually. I do have Dolores. I'm going to try not to use Dolores in this fight, but I did use Dolores in my main fight. She's basically buffing the damage of my attack-based heroes. I've got Vortex, who's a great hero for this fight. So he's basically doing like really wide level healing in terms of his skill set. Where do I see his range? Here we go. Yeah, it's got a very wide, maybe one of the biggest. I don't know. Like, it's a crazy heal, and he does shielding as well when people are full health. So he's really, really solid for this fight. I've got Mari, who is nice in terms of bringing a bit of a freeze. I recently leveled Iona, who's the champion that you can actually buy for a very small amount of cash when you're first into the game. And again, very, very nice hero for AoE magic damage. And I also utilize a rare who is Na'vi for cost improvement. So they're the heroes. Generally, as I say, I've not gone in and like re-geared everyone really well, but I'm trying to pump attack. I do have this kind of crit ring on at the moment, which I'd like to change to an attack ring for my Kame here. But basically, I'm looking for good levels of attack as my primary push. So pretty much like, you know, attack percent bonus for the jewelry items if I can get it. And if I can find like attack percent and some attack speed going on the substats here, then that's what I'm trying to do. Similar type of build, almost like I worry about getting double the attack before I start to focus on any crit. None of my builds are good, by the way. I'm just kind of showing you what I'm going to be running this with. This dude here is Zealous as well. It's level 50. Build is pretty trash, honestly. But again, I was looking for attack speed, attack bonus on basically any items. My Cerberus here, again, it's like punch, attack, and nothing else, because that's what he scales from with his pool. We've got an OK HP Vortex, basically looking for HP bonus wherever I can, and healing effect. I would like the healing effect to be a bit higher, but basically what I would love is just, you know, HP popping up all over the place. So, you know, the higher his HP, the better his healing as well with healing effects. Who else am I using? I do think I might throw in some form of tank, probably Abomination, just to try and like stand in the way. Abomination isn't a tank, by the way. He's a fighter, but I kind of use him. And my gearing is probably one of my worst geared heroes. He's got no damage right now. In fact, it's embarrassing to show you. But that's what I'm playing with. It's not like I've gone out and gone full beans crazy gearing, okay? And that's important. Like, I'm showing you this as a player who's literally just hit this place in the game, and this is how I got through it. And hopefully you can use some of those same tactics. Right then, let's go for it. So we're on stage 13. This is the squad I'm going to use. Couple of kind of like frontline fighter types. I've got 2 healers in the mix. No, I've got 1 healer in the mix now, actually. Just Vortex in the mix for healing. Got a couple of kind of like mage slowers. I do have some legendary units in the team. In fact, Setram's coming out. I knew there was something I needed to change. Setram is coming out. I could either throw in a second healer, which would not be a bad shout because I can take some damage in some of my positioning. Or we can throw in a Lord who's going to help some of the factions. So you see I've got a lot of a particular faction. In fact, I'm going to give that bonus to all of the faction with this Lord. That might look different for you depending on what you're bringing in. But you know, for that whole group of heroes now, I'm going to get 10% bonus of stats, but also more damage when enemies are frozen or immobilized. And I do now have a couple of heroes in the mix that are going to do that. So additional damage there is going to be helpful. Let's get this going and see what we can do. First thing I'm going to do is throw down my cost enhancer, which is that Na'vi. Just put them in the back line. And the cool thing about this rare is I can just pop the ult super early and get work done. I'm going to get my mages, try and get them basically in that back row so they're not taking loads of damage from the exploding stuff as it happens. We're going to get those done first. Pop that ult and get myself some more cost. I think I'm going to get Cerberus down nice and early because the more times I put him down, the more benefit I get from him. I don't need any healing yet. I'm going to get another AoE down super early. See, Cerberus is doing this kind of like ult. Or I'm not sure it's his ult, sorry. He's just doing this kind of pool of damage, which gets stronger each time. I'm going to go here. The only trouble with this spot is once they get through that first wall, it's useless. So I'm going to need to recall him for that. But it's not bad for now. Get my Iona out there as well. I'm going to pop ults nice and early. One ult. I'm not going to use both because I know I can clear this wave quite comfortably. Ah, don't forget the Na'vi ult. Grab my healer here. My Mari is going to just start to freeze that kind of like early wave. She's going to take damage there. Let's pop an ult here. Just try and clear out some of the enemy. And again, we can throw in now our tank. In fact, I don't want to throw him in there. I want to throw him in behind the wall. Am I in the right spot? I think he's going to have to go there, actually. So that he does tank the boss. Ults galore. Boss is out. Ults galore. Keeping an eye on when Cerberus is back so I can throw him in. Now we're just doing damage. Now we're just trying to pop as many ults as I can. Obviously, if you've got Dolores, you try and, like, you know, pair that stuff up. Cerberus goes down. Going to give me an AoE kind of like pool of damage under him. Don't need to really heal yet, so pop another ult. Boss is going to go down pretty damn sweet. This is going nice. Much nicer than it did on stream, honestly, but I do have upgrades. I do have a better squad now. And you can see just this kind of like AoE magic damage. It's doing its job. And that is going to be that. The fact that everyone is away. These are the exploding ones. Look how much damage we take here. In fact, it's basically nothing because the only person that can take damage is Mari, and she's got the shield from Vortex. So it's just a pretty clean run, considering I'm like way under where I need to be for the BP rate of this fight. I do have a good chunk of legendaries in the mix, and obviously if you don't have the legendaries, then you bring in the AoE mages that you've got. Yeah, so there's plenty of AoE mages that could do some nice work here. If they had broken through the wall, then I've got a tank or a tankish type of champion. At least he's got an invulnerability and abomination just to soak up some initial damage, and then we'd be able to go again. The other thing I'll say, so maybe I'll try the next level. I don't know if I'm ready for this level, honestly. But I guess before I do that, cool thing here, if it was close, yeah, if you were close to doing it but not quite there, you can come in and auto fight as long as you did it and got the 3 stars. And what you gain is this power of dominance. You see up here, this is it. You can't use a friend assist to get this, by the way. But what this means is you get a plus 30% to all your stats for your auto farm. So if you were close before, you think, well, it's possible maybe I don't do it next time. You will do it. Okay, you will do it because you're gaining 30% more stats. You look at how easily I just like smash my way through this level now because I'm gaining that extra stats. 30% is a lot of extra damage. This boss is going to get melted as soon as I drop some ults. But really, it's mainly about the synergy of the team. It's mainly about positioning your units to get maximum benefit from them. So, for example, some of these units I had to promote to make sure that they had enough range to be able to still hit the enemies coming in before, so I didn't have to put them on those front plinth. And when I was doing this first time around, don't get me wrong, I put people on the front, I was making loads of mistakes, all that type of stuff. Of course, you're learning the game. But if you can keep them away from these kind of like front lines, then really you don't take a lot of damage. As I was getting to this place, so before I kind of understood the fight really well, Okay. Before I understood the fight really well, I'll show you, because it does make some sense if you're trying to get to stage 13 and you're kind of working your way. If I go back to something like stage 8 and show you the auto battle, maybe even earlier, because there were some levels where I just kind of like had to just use whatever I had to get through it. And you'll see the type of stuff I was doing here. I was doing it really poorly, but marksman down, yeah, it was just someone I had. I was thinking tank in front of the wall. Don't let the enemies into the wall. And then I was putting my mages kind of at the back. So it worked. Don't get me wrong. I got through it, and I was just kind of like learning the fight. But just shows that you can still brute force your way through it with whatever heroes you've got leveled at the start. But when you start to get to that place where, right, now I want to be able to beat this, in the right way. Basically, half the heroes here are just completely irrelevant and useless for, what you want to do in the later game. Okay, so I'm just have one pop at stage 14 to finish the video off. Again, I could bring in a friend assist and get a nice hero or whatever. Definitely build your friend teams up, because that does help for some content. But what I want to be able to do is whatever level I'm beating, I want to be able to auto it. So I'm going to see if I can do this. Every level feels like a big step up after 12, honestly. Let's get my little friend down as early as possible. Won't play him yet. Wait till they get there. Pop my ult. But Na'Vi has just actually become very, very useful on my account. Like, I'm surprised by how much benefit I'm getting out of Na'Vi. There is an epic version. I think I've even got the epic version, honestly. One out here. Just try and clean some of the waves. Probably go there. Ult. Marry. For freezes. Another ult. Notice I'm not throwing down all of my ults all of the time. Just trying to make sure that I keep some back for some of the hard waves. Now we've got quite a lot of units in there, so I'm going to try and clean some of this out. Drop my abomination. Just make sure he's in the healing range. He is. My ult again. She's now kind of done her job, so she can come out. Give me loads of cost over the time. Drop the freeze. I'm way under. See the way it got through the wall this time? Way under the kind of requirement or the recommendation for battle power. What I did first time round, I will say it, what I did at this point was just quit and thought I've lost. And I might have lost this time round, but I hadn't actually lost when I quit the first time. Like I thought I had, but I just hadn't. So sometimes it's worth just seeing if you are still got, do you still have a chance to do this or not? Popping any ults. That wall is looking battered. Yeah, I think this one is a loss. Like, the wall's going to go. And at this point, you can, if you think you've still got a chance, you're not going to lose your stamina in the fight. So you can hit a restart and go again. I'm going to try one more time. But hopefully, might throw him a bit closer. The thing is, he's got a nice passive that does reduce defense of the enemy. But it does mean that I'd have to heal him, which is a bit harder to do. I'm going to try it, though. See the way they're getting like defense break. I am going to have to put a healer in to cover that off. Not for now. He's not going to take any damage right now, but he will do later on. We dropped the tank in earlier. Just to try and tank up some of that damage. Try and just give the wall a little bit of a breathing space. I don't know if it's worth or not. This. The next ult. Try and lean through these waves a bit. Got the next ult. Already through the wall. See, at this point, I don't know if I should just recall a couple of these people. Probably should. Oh. Boss hasn't taken any damage. Melting through my wall. Super quick. That's going to be a fail. So I'm not quite ready for the next stage, but or maybe I just need to play it better. But hopefully it's giving you some ideas anyway of how to kind of tackle this level, how to at least get stage 13 on farm. And that's where you can start to get yourself some of that mythical gear and then upgrade again. And at that point, you're just kind of like doing small upgrades to basically help you push through all sorts of content. Let me know what you thought of the video. I will be doing Gear Raid 2 and 3 over the next couple of days as well, because I've done the same type of thing, moving up to that mythical level of gear. And, you know, a couple of weeks in, I can now start to really move my account forward. Anyway, there you go, guys. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you soon.